Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division with various wind. Here I'm playing all the holes from the second tee, giving you my best advice on how to crush the specific course that we are playing. But before we have a closer look at all the content, if you enjoy the free content here on the channel, hit the thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel and click that bell button or the notification button. For those of you that are looking to take that little extra step, you shall look for our premium guides on patreon.com/golfclashtommy. You do have the link in the description down below, or you can scan the QR code. There we do have packages that ranges for all the different type of players in Golf Clash, all from tournaments to tour play to checkpoint challenge. You can find something regardless what game mode you want to improve on. You sign up, you try for yourself, and you see how we can help you become a better player in Golf Clash. Last but not least, in this playthrough, you can follow along by following the info box on the right hand side. Club distance adjustment, elevation adjustment, also what ball and club type I suggest you to play with. Have in mind, those are just suggestions, so you don't have to follow it if you don't want to, but there's a plan behind it. Let's go to hole number 1. For hole number 1, we're gonna play straight down the fairway. Here is also a possibility to send it if we do have the tailwind for it, but we do not. We do have a crosswind, and then we're using the 6 topspin and some left spin and trying to just bounce in between the two bunkers there on the fairway. Maximum distance plus 10 for the adjustment, and once we have adjusted, we are going to, if we do pull into overpower, we should be using whatever overpower we adjust into. You can obviously decide to go max overpower here as well and push it even further, but that's going to make you have a much shakier needle. In headwind, especially using a ball with more power is definitely something to be suggested as well. That will help making the drive easier. You can obviously reach longer, and then the second shot will be not fairly easy. It will still be a short iron towards the pin. Now, second shot, there is a difference here from bouncing on the green with your first bounce or bouncing on the fairway with your first bounce. The difference is the height of the second bounce. So the higher the second bounce is, the more effect the ball will have once it hits the ground to it hits the second bounce. So therefore, this type of shot's going to be needed to be played like around 30 to 35% elevation, not the 20 that I'm playing. But in many of the cases, like in straighter winds and stuff, then 20% elevation is perfect. Whereas if we're playing on green, it's going to be all from 0 to 10% elevation on the second shot. So it's very important that you somewhat find what works for you. And if you have the possibility, land on green instead of landing on the fairway before the green with your second bounce. Sorry, first bounce, not second. Hole number 2. Here I'm going aggressive. I'm going for a rough bump. And the reason I'm going for a rough bump is that I do believe that is consistently the best way of attacking the pin for an hole-in-one. So what I'm doing is that I'm using the inner ring, the green ring, to be by the sand with the ball guideline through the hole. Then I'm setting the spins to have the ball guideline left side of the hole. Adjustment here in this particular wind angle is minimum distance with minus 10% elevation. And obviously when it comes to rough bumps like this, making bad execution errors or hitting bad grays will obviously be danger. And that's why whenever I'm suggesting shots like this, I'm always suggesting to play a different shot as well if you do feel uncomfortable with this type of play. You can always bounce on the fairways before the rough on the left. You can always do that by using the pad on the right as well. I mean, there's different ways of doing so. I'm not saying the rough bump is going to be in every time, but with a perfect ball, you will always be super close, if not getting it to drop. On hole 3, here we do want to have a side spin 3 ball. I would recommend to play with a kingmaker in headwind always. But when it comes to tailwind, you can go with a katana if you like, because the katana has this 3 side spin, and on the second shot, as we're not playing with much elevation, it's going to give us still a very good chance for a drop. Max plus 10 with adjustment 3 right spin and some top spin. We're not looking to get too far here, and that I think is a very important lesson for those of you that do not recognize this hole before or just don't know how to play this hole. We do want to be positioned before the bunker, more on the right side of the fairway, because what we're gonna do is that we're gonna use the rough bump that is here. And the reason we're gonna do that is because there's a massive funnel, and funnels in Golf Clash is heaven. Because if we are moving left and right here with our ball guideline, you can see here that the ball guideline is somewhat stuck, and means that we do have a decent amount of room for error when it comes to a shot like this. So I'm using spins here to have the ball guideline in the way I want, which is fairly straight. I like that type of way more, especially with wind coming right to left, compared to if I would be having a more curved ball guideline. And that is due to the tailwind mainly. No elevation and true club distance. We are hitting the rough. We are going into the funnel. The ball looks like it's going to stop short, but it's not. Rolls down the green and dropping a dead center for a lovely albatross here in hole number 3. Hole number 8, which is hole number 1 of the Wiseacre Ranch, and here we are starting with QB and a P6 ball at max rest. Looking to have the white ring to the left by the rough line, and then we are swapping to a pock and our thorn bag. 3 left spin and 5.8 top spin. Adjust is going to be max plus 20 P0. And what I would like to say here is that using a ball with more power will give you a much slower needle. Using a power 3 ball here is gonna be, power 6 ball here is gonna be shaky. If you can use a power 7, 8, 9 or 10 ball, you will most definitely have a much better needle, and if so, easier to hit perfect. But you can see we are far away from the bunker and can most definitely be having no issues getting ourselves with even grades up between 350 and 360 yards. Second shot, it's with our thorn, and we are going to do a bottom and white ring pin check. And once we have done that, we're gonna move back and play with no spin. Ball guideline to be 1 cup through the hole here. And once we have found that spot, we are going to play from +3 and +4 check. We do 54% slider, +5% elevation, P3 numbers. We center the ball. And we hit perfect. And a perfect ball here will have a very good chance for a drop. Hole number 2, we're gonna go for a rough bump. I'm gonna use left spin here to put myself as far away from the fairway on the left possible, to give myself room for great balls to drop. You can see here now that I'm using a little bit of topspin as well, aiming at the center of the bright green square row with the tip of my ball guideline, slightly short as well to compensate for the tailwind. Adjustment, medium distance +10. And do you have to play with a kingmaker here? No, you do not. You can play with a katana as well, or any other side spin 3, power 1 plus ball, because we are starting at the +3 yard mark. That's obviously with sniper level 10. If you do have a lower level sniper, you need to have minimum a power 2 ball, and you can play with a power 1 ball because you have less power on your wood club. This is, in my opinion, a very good chance to start off the par 3 journey with an hole in 1. So again, medium distance +10, which is 1-to-1 with a power 3 ball, and couldn't be much more simple than this. Hole number 3, we're gonna play straight down the right hand side in any wind direction that is crosswind or headwind. If we do have a straight tailwind, I would recommend to blast it down the left hand side. However, that was not found in practice, and therefore I cannot use that as a reference. But that's gonna be a way of going at it if we are getting a tailwind. So now, ball bouncing on the fairway, getting it down to roll. Here I would recommend to push it harder if you do have the balls to do that, and the reason for that is that the closer we are to the end of the rough, the better chance it's going to be, because then we're going to have to play with a long iron, but in this case we're going to have to play with a wood club. Now, having headwind is going to remove the chances of playing a rough bump, which would be my preferred way of attacking the pin. Attacking the pin by bouncing over the rough and the sand is going to only be happening in headwind if you are not long enough with your drive. It's not the recommended way of playing to get the most amount of albatrosses, but it's going to be the most secure way of locking in the eagle. So either going for the rough bump to have a better albatross chance, or to just bounce on the fairway. If you're bouncing on the fairway, you're playing at 10% elevation and true club distance. If you go for the rough bump, you play minus 5% elevation instead. So the difference in elevation is very important to have in mind, because obviously when it is to play with a rough bump instead of bouncing on fairway, there's always going to be an elevation difference, to be absolutely correct. So tough but makeable chance on hole 3. I would consider hole number 3 to be the most makeable albatross there is, and that just tells you, that will tell you how hard the upcoming par 5s will be of the Wiseacre. On hole number 4, I see a lot of value in playing the rough bump. I do believe that eliminating the second bounce and the third bounce, or I would say we have a little second bounce, but eliminating a lot of that is going to help us a lot when it comes to dialing in shots like that. That's why rough bumps in general are the best way to attack the pin on many of the par 3s, and also approach shots on par 4s and on par 5s. 20% elevation, and here it's all about what type of wind direction you have. It can be medium distance, can be max distance as well when it comes to the club distance that we're choosing. Now pulling down into the bunker obviously makes us lose a little distance, and that's something we need to have in mind. It bounces into the rough and rolls up, and missing that one on the right hand side because I'm playing it max distance instead of medium distance. I made the wrong call, which is obviously something I'm gonna have to live with, but the rough bump definitely offers a good chance for an hole-in-one. On hole number 5, I want to highlight a send it, because obviously if we do have a tailwind, we're gonna send it. And the good part with this par 4 is that it's a short one, and this one you can actually attack the pin for an hole-in-one. But as I will say here, as I will be saying on hole 8 as well, is that make sure to not push it too hard, because it's not worth rolling over the green and to roll into the rough in the back. Because that would just create a scenario where, alright, you pushed it and you got into the rough, and then it's tougher to hit perfect, obviously. It's better then to play a controlled way where the most likely outcome is that you do get short. But in the best of all the scenarios, you do get that little glitch roll that will roll you onto the green and you have a look for the hole-in-one. Then that is exactly what I'm doing here now. You can see I'm short of the hole, super short wedge, which will allow me to lock in the eagle easily. I'm counteracting the risk of getting a glitch roll, which in this case would give us a look for the hole-in-one, but it will never roll into rough on the back. Maximum distance, no elevation. I'm pushing up to max and using topspin to I'm using topspin depending on wind strength to give myself the drive distance I want. On the drive on hole number 6, and we do have tailwind, and which is the good thing. Now we can attack the pin in a very nice way and give ourselves not a good look. It's going to be a look at least, and that's good enough on a tough par 5 like this. I would recommend, if you have the possibility, to play with a power 4 or a power 5 ball. The reason for that is that second shot is going to be long, and if you do have the possibility to play with the sniper instead of the cataclysm, I mean, I would take that all day and every day, especially if you do not have cataclysm level 7 or level 8. Max plus 10, I'm using max OP with a slow needle. I do want to get to a specific distance, because that's one of the tricky parts with this hole as well, is that it's very easy if using too much topspin to either have dead bounces or have a glitch roll, and then the difference in yardage of your drive might be all the way up from 20 to 30 yards. And that's very difficult to dial in. Now, on the second shot is going to be somewhere between medium and maximum distance. And using a club with a good ball guideline is crucial if you're gonna give yourself a chance for a drop. Adjustment is going to be 20% elevation and then either, you know, medium or maximum or somewhere in between. Again, depends on where you are in your club range. Great ball, unfortunately, but you will see the, you see the trick. You see what I'm doing. It hits the rough and it rolls left of pin where a perfect would have been closer. Not sure it would have been in though, but it would have been closer. And this rough bump offers a chance for an Albatron, but super tough Alba to get. Not many will get it. For hole number 3, we're starting with an NMT, meaning no move target. Then we are setting 5.8 top spin and 1 left spin. You can see here that Grant is using a side spin 1 ball to simplify setting the spins, which I think is very smart. But if you don't want to start with the navigator and you want to start with the ball that you prefer to use all the way through, then you can do that, of course, as well. Max plus 20 P0 with our Apocalypse. Once we have done the adjustment, we go max overpower with half a ball of left curl with a completely slow needle. Hit perfect, and the ball will go somewhere between 345 and 350 yards. Now we're gonna play with our Thorn on the second shot, and this is definitely a play that has a very nice and good drop rate, especially also when the wind is not entirely straight, but it's definitely on the straighter side. For topspin, we're looking to set our aim into the rough. Ball guideline will then go 1 green square through the hole. Adjust from landing position is +5 and +6 is then 90% slider with 20% elevation, P3 numbers. So we make the adjustment, and then it's going to be centered ball and hit perfect. There we go. Clips the rough and rolls down the green and dropping dead center for the eagle. Hole number 5, another rough bump and another good chance for an hole-in-one. I'm starting with the left side of the yellow ring to be by the edge of the rough in complete max distance. This is with sniper level 10. Those of you that do want to mirror exact the same spot needs to play with a power 4 ball if you play with a lower level sniper. Obviously this might not be ultimate in a tournament situation, but this is something at least to build on, and that's why I'm using this video as the tournament starts. Now, using a little bit of right spin, a little bit of top spin to get the ball guideline slightly short of hole. We do have a tailwind, so we need to think about that because we will be having an extended ball guideline. Maximum distance plus 20, so 7.1 rings for 5.8 miles per hour, which is, yeah, the correct adjustment that I'm using in the video. And as always, when it comes to par 3s, I'm not gonna rule out the possibility that the adjustment will be different if we do have a different wind angle. Right the pin. Beautiful hole-in-one on a good chance on hole 5. Hole number 6 is going to be a really tough par 5 to get anything else than an eagle on. I would say that in more or less every type of wind, this is going to be a fight for an eagle. The only time it wouldn't be a fight for an eagle, or we can actually secure the eagle easily and get ourselves an albatross attempt, is if we do have tailwind of T. But that's not the case now. So having a crosswind, I want you to push as far down the fairway possible with your drive. I'm using all the top spin that I can, all the right spin that I can. I'm using a power 5 ball and going max overpower. The goal here is to clip the rough with my second bounce to roll out on the fairway, and now I do have a way of transport the ball to green. If having a headwind, you're gonna have to use a driver with a lot of curl, playing it down the right side of the fairway, because we cannot reach over the water and the rough that is just straight forward. So this is, depending on what wind you have of T, could be a very difficult par 5 to play. So now second shot, you can see here now that even if we do have a power 5 ball, and even if we went max overpower and pushed it on the drive, we're still not being able to reach over the rough patch and bounce the ball up towards the green. So now you do have two suggestions here, or a choice between two things, which is one, to go for a rough bump and just use all the topspin that you have to roll the ball to green, or that you use what I do here and just more a controlled way by bouncing on the fairway with less topspin, with in case a little bit of backspin, and just securing the eagle. Playing the shot that I'm doing here in the video is not going to result into an albatross if you're not super duper lucky, and that's the same with a rough bump, because the rough bump is very glitchy, and that's going to be very dependent on hitting the same and correct spot every time if you're going to drop that one for anything else than an eagle. Hole number 7 is an interesting par 3 as it offers different ways of attacking the pin. You can play rough bump, you can play a bounce up, and honestly, it doesn't have to be better with a rough bump than a bounce up, or vice versa, because of the fact that we do have a lot of sticky spots around the green. So find your way of playing and stick with that. Here I'm using a rough bump and adding spins to get the ball guideline through the hole, with the red ring to be by the sand and the rough line. Adjust medium distance +10, which is 1-to-1. I'm also using a slight 12-1, and the reason I want to highlight that is because I'm adjusting up to a higher precision, and therefore I'm going to gain more distance. So to compensate for that, I'm using a slight 12-1 to pull myself a little further back when I'm pulling my rings. Getting it to drop nicely for an hole-in-one here. This par 3 is not easy, or let's say like this, it can be easy. If you find in the correct spot, then it could be money one. But if you're finding the wrong spot, this could be actually kind of hard. In tailwinds on hole 8, and we're gonna send it, and that's what I want to highlight and lift up here in this video, or in this playthrough as well. I'm using a power 5 ball because the power 5 ball is gonna be required, or it's, yeah, let's say like this, you can make it over with a lower power ball, but using a power 5 ball will make sure that even with the crosswind and tailwind angles, that you're always gonna reach over without any issues. We do want here to find a way of playing a controlled send it. We're not really going for the pin, we're going to get close to the green. I personally like to try to play from being short of the green for one other reason as well. And the reason for that is that if we do get the ball to go onto the green, there's literally no fairway behind the green. It's rough immediately. So if we are pushing too hard and getting ourselves to be past the green, you can see how quickly the rough comes, then we might roll into the rough immediately, and that's not something we want to do. Then it's better to control it, be a little bit shorter, have a short wedge, and lock in the eagle. If we do have a headwind of tee or a crosswind, you have to lay up, but then it's just a standard layup. You bounce up and then you play a short iron or a long iron to pin. On the drive here on hole number 9, we're using the Apocalypse here because we do want to have the power but also the curl. You can see there at top that the fairway slopes right to left, and to be able to counteract the ball rolling into the rough, we do want to have curl and to push the ball right. Here I'm using a Kingmaker, but using a ball with more power will most definitely be the better way to go, because it will help you on the second shot, and most importantly will help you if you're not having tailwind on the drive. Bounces on the fairway over the rough, and we're landing nicely here now on this fairway, nowhere near to roll into the rough at all. See here, 416 yards, that's going to leave us a long iron from distance, and as I do not have as I do have the Goliath level 9 as a more generic club, there is obviously a possibility to play with the B52. You can also play with the Grizzly. The Grizzly's issue though is that you may not have the power enough on that club if you do have a shorter drive. So the safe option is definitely the Goliath, but for those playing with the B52 or having the B52 level 6 or better, use that one instead, because it has the power and it also has accuracy, which will help when it comes to hitting great balls. 25% elevation, and his true club distance is going to be somewhere between medium and maximum distance of our club. And a perfect ball here will offer a good chance for an albatross from distance. Bounces into the rough, rolls down, and we're getting it dead center for an albatross here on hole number 9. Hole number 6, which is hole number 7 of the Wiseacre Ranch. This is, in my opinion, in the 4th of July tournament, this is the toughest of the holes, especially if we don't have a tailwind. So here we do have some headwind, playing a QB 9+, a quarterback level 9+, a P6 NMT. Once we have done that, we are swapping immediately to Apocalypse and our sniper bag. A 5.8 top spin and 3 right spin. Adjust is going to be max plus a 20p. 0. Once the adjustment is made, we are going to do 2 balls of right curl with just before circle drop. The intention here with this drive is to get the ball down somewhere between 348 and 356 yards. The second shot is with our sniper, and we are going to start by setting 5 backspin and 1 right spin. Once that is sorted, we are going to set the tip of the ball guideline approximately 2 green squares short of the hole, pointing to the right edge of the cup. That's obviously a difficult thing to do because the offset is quite subjective, and it also comes down to having having the camera angle putting you in the correct spot. But do your best, because no matter what, this is a difficult hole that we're playing, and the offset is key. Adjust is going to be 1 to 1, meaning that we are playing the same adjust as the wind is telling us. So 6.6 miles per hour is in 6.6 rings. And that is our base from +5 and 6, a landing position for sniper 10, +7 and +8, a landing position for sniper 9. Good chance, but definitely a difficult par 4. Hole number 8 is another rough bump with another good chance. Here we do have one thing to have in mind. That is that if we do have a tailwind, we can play with a wood club. If we do have a crosswind or a headwind, we're going to have to play with a driver. Very similar to how hole 5 is the other par 3 rough bump. Now, using a little bit of right spin, a little bit of backspin to get the ball guideline through the hole. In the video, we make the adjustment and we play minimum distance, no elevation, P2 numbers. What we notice here now is that I'm actually pulling into min line here. You can see that where the red line starts to glow up. And the thing that I forget to do there is to do a little bit of overpower to compensate, because I will become over adjusted when I do pull into the min line. So if I wouldn't pull into the min line, the adjustment would be good, and that's something to have in mind based on this video. Obviously the adjustment and the spins can be slightly different depending on what wind angle we do have in the tournament. No matter what though, very good chance. For the drive on hole number 9, we are going to play on the right hand side. Many of the times, there will be times where we can play on the left hand side, but we are dependent on, if so, having tailwind. So now when having headwind, we're going to play down the right using as much topspin that you possible can. I'm using the driver with the most power and topspin that I do have on this account. Max overpower here, as the headwind will obviously not be helpful in the sense of giving us more power, so I'm using the overpower to push the ball as far up with my first bounce. And now we're gonna just lay up. We are far away from the water and the rough, which obviously is good, so there is no risk in getting into the rough or into the sand at the top there, even if you would be having more topspin than the 6 bars I do have on my extra mile. Now the second shot is just going to be to transport the ball to the green area. Be careful here so you're not rolling into the rough or the rough sand that is there by the tree, by the green. So I'm trying to use a little side spin and also a decent amount of top spin here. I'm using more or less all the top spin on my Cataclysm level 4 here. Playing on this fairway before the rough there, not trying to go over the rough, is gonna be a medium distance plus 10 adjustment. If we would be having room to go over the rough there at the top, then we would be playing it max plus 10, but there will be very few times, especially if having headwind of tee, where we can actually do so. Great right makes me become a little bit lucky because I roll, and I actually roll through the rough here and having a nice and short easy wedge for an eagle. So to summarize, in headwind we're playing for an eagle only. In crosswind and tailwind we can play over on the left by using a lot of topspin, such as a big topper play with a power 5 ball, or just playing with a big board driver or something like that. That would get you over, and then you have a long iron or you have a wood club towards the pin. So in the end here, this is hole number 9, tough one to get anything else than an eagle. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division. Here you have seen me playing all the holes in the tournament with various wins, giving you my best advice on how to crush the tournament. If you're looking for more content, you can find more free content here on YouTube, but also on our website goldclashtommy.com. But for those of you that are looking to take that little extra step, look for our premium guides. You can find that on patreon.com/goldclashtommy. You have the link in the description down below, or you scan the QR code here on the screen to go directly there. We do have packages that ranges all from $4 up to, whatever level you want to, and we do have premium guides for all the game modes. So do yourself a favor, sign up, try for yourself, and see how we can help you improve and have more fun with this game. You don't have to be a top tier player to sign up, because we do have packages for all the players that are playing this game. So check it out and see for yourself. Thank you very much once again for watching this playthrough. I wish you the best of luck in your Golf Clash game.